Hare Krishna, dear devotees, you're all very welcome in today's session in Gems from Srimadbhagavatam. And we are visiting the third part of Gajendra Moksha, where we earlier talked about how Gajendra prayed. So, in the very first session, we talked about the faults, just because they made faults. King Huhu, the Gandharva king, and Indradumna Maharaj was in trance. So that was not his fault. He was in trance. But again, the curse given by Sage Agastya still acted, and he became the king of the elephants. Gajendra. Gaj means elephant, Indra means the king of. And so here we see that even though they were cursed, Gajendra was in this tough state. In the second session, we talked about Gajendra's mindset and what he wished for. King Hu, when he was cursed, he asked to be returned to his position, while Indradumna, he did not, King Indradumna did not think of anything else, and he was basically praying for Lord's mercy at this tough time. And so Lord appeared. So we'll be covering this verse today, 8.4.6. Hare Krishna. Devi, do you like to add anything before we get started?
So maybe one or two of you might have missed the past session. So very quickly, this is a powerful pastime about an elephant. In the pastimes of Srimadbhagavatam, he was enjoying in the lake and he's caught by a crocodile. And Prabhuji has just mentioned the history of these characters, what they were in their past lives. So because the elephant was caught in the jaws of crocodile, which represents jaws of death actually for us. But there was an unexpected struggle. You explained that nicely in the past two classes. And so for us, there is a deeper lesson. It is not just a story of elephant and crocodile. It is about what we do when life pulls us into struggle we can't win on our own. And further now, as we see, like we were discussing earlier in the session today, Prabhuji is going to share about the appearance of the Supreme Lord who appears accepting the prayers of Gajendra, And so in this story of struggle, surrender, we develop an understanding that there is a higher help which appears when everything else fades. We need to just sincerely ask for that in a mood of surrender. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiryet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for the recitation of sixth verse in the fourth chapter of Canto 8. Gajendro Bhagavad Sparshad Vimukto Jnana Bandhanat Prapto Bhagavato Rupam Pita Vasas Chaturbhujaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because Gajendra, king of the elephants, had been touched directly by the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was immediately freed of all material ignorance and bondage. Thus he received the salvation of Sarupya Mukti, in which he achieved the same bodily features as the Lord, being dressed in yellow garments and possessing 4 hands. Devi, would you like to read the purport?
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. If one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by having his gross body touched by the Lord, his body turns into a spiritual body and he can go back home, back to Godhead. Gajendra assumed a spiritual body when his body was touched by the Lord. Similarly, Dhruv Maharaj assumed his spiritual body in this way. Archana Paddhati, daily worship of the deity, provides an opportunity to touch the body of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus it enables one to be fortunate enough to get a spiritual body and go back to Godhead. Not only by touching the body of the Supreme Lord, but simply by hearing about his pastimes, chanting his glories, touching his feet, and offering worship. In other words, by serving the Lord somehow or other, one is purified of material contamination. This is the result of touching the Supreme Lord. One who is a pure devotee, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, who acts according to the Shastra and the words of Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly becomes purified. Like Gajendra, he assumes a spiritual body and returns home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Devi. Please join us for Srila Prabhupada Pranati and seeking blessings from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Such a sweet pastime where we hear as Gajendra is delivered, liberated from the bondage, but the main deliverance is from the ignorance. So this today class is focused on the third part. And who's the third topic of the third part? Lord Hari. And this is the Lord who runs to bring us back home. So in this verse, we hear that Gajendra, by the touch of the Lord, became free from ignorance and attained a spiritual form like the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada, he talks about, cleanliness is next to godliness. So of course, he completely became cleansed inside out. And he attained the same form. Does that mean he became God? No, he stayed the servant of the God, but in his true identification. So Gajendra, the king of elephants, he struggled helplessly against a crocodile for a long time. When he finally surrendered and called out, the Lord did not walk, he ran. So this is not just a story of danger or rescue and then liberation, right? It's a story of divine eagerness that Gajendra felt in his heart in that state of misery. He realized his conditioned state and the unconditioned compassion of the Lord. Again, there is no cause, so causeless mercy is said. So that causeless mercy is not because there is a cause that he was in danger. He was calling out to the Lord. And so the Lord's urgency to bring us back home, that is being revealed. So when Gajendra called out, Lord Vishnu, he did not wait, right? He did not prepare. Like, where are my slippers? Where are my clothes? Where's all those things? And is this good time to call Garun? He did not wait for any of those. He did not even wait for Garun. He ran barefoot immediately, right? So Garud had to catch up. Lord is running barefoot to save Gajendra, and the Garud is coming, and then while coming, Lord rides on top of him. So only then did the Lord mount him and continued the journey to reach Gajendra. Now, what does this mean? Somebody could ask. This is not theology alone. This is not just some theoretical entertainment class or a story. This is basically showing the emotion. This is relationship. This is love in motion. So these are some important aspects that we should be looking at. Now, where have we seen such behavior in our lives, we can say? Yes, between a father and his child, right? So when a small child cries out, the father does not analyze. He doesn't delay, definitely, because he's hearing his child crying out. And he doesn't look at organizing things so that he can like make proper preparation before he goes out. A father runs immediately, right? Sometimes without shoes. Yes, many of us may have seen people doing this without preparation, leaving everything, whatever is they're doing, maybe something very important. They drop everything and they just run. That's the mood of a father. And they sometimes don't even think. Just the cry is enough for them to run. Now, where do we see in Braj Leela this happening? So in Braj Leela, when Lord Krishna, he pulled the two trees, the twin urgent trees, who were none other than Nalkvir and Manigriva, cursed by sage Narad. So when these trees fell, there was such a tumultuous sound. And hearing that sound from the garden of Nand Maharaja's courtyard, of course, Nand Maharaj and all the elderly Gopa boys, they came rushing. They were fearing. There's always something happening to Krishna. There's always some demon attacking Krishna. There's always some kind of tribulation that's going on. And that's the mood of a father. They always want to look out after the welfare of their children. So Krishna does not come slowly when we call sincerely. He comes urgently. He comes with this mood of emergency, right? Now, where have we seen in Mahabharata such an incident? Well, it's very interesting that in Padma Purana as well as Vishnu Purana, this reference is given. Lord Krishna is having conversation with Rukmini and Acharyas after the gambling match, which Duryodhan cheated Pandavas of all their kingdom, including enslaving them. There was a very important aspect that was revealed. First is Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was praying that, oh my dear Lord, I'm going and I have to, as a Kshatriya, I have to accept Duryodhana's this invitation to be ready to gamble. Yet at the same time, I don't want you to see me gambling because gambling is not a good thing to do. So he was praying. So Lord Krishna is telling Rukmini, Queen Rukmini, his first wife, that how can I go? Yudhishthir is not letting me come. He is praying that I shouldn't be there. But then when Draupadi was insulted, Dushasan pulled her by the hair during her period, that time of the month, and she was brought in the assembly hall. And now Duryodhana is saying that, take off her clothes and, basically to insult her. Draupadi is holding on. She is crying out. As first she's tried. She made an effort, right? She is making an effort. She's resisting this behavior. She's calling out to the elders, to Bhishma Pitama, the grandsire, to Dronacharya, to Kripacharya, to all the elders. And then what happens? Even when she's calling out first, Krishna, Govinda, Govinda, please help me. She's holding one hand. Lord doesn't appear. And now she raises both hands and she calls out, Govinda, Govinda. Now Queen Rukmini says, now Draupadi is calling you. How will you reach there? Lord Krishna smiles and says, through the tears, the highway of her tears. And Lord Krishna, he came. He provided unlimited cloth. Everything changed, right? He did not travel physically. He responded instantly. That is the sweetness of this pastime, because the fastest path is not distance. The fastest path is not perfection. The fastest path is devotion. And her tears became the highway from heart to eyes and to Krishna, providing her the protection that she was looking for. That's the mood we have to understand. That Gajendra's call for Krishna, so Lord Hari is none other than Krishna. He ran. Draupadi, when she cried, Krishna responded instantly and came through the highway of her tears. So there was no delay, no calculation, and no condition. Only sincerity matters. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada was once asked by a gentleman in the audience, he said, Srila Prabhupada, how long will it take for one to become Krishna conscious? Because according to the descriptions in Bhagavatam, there are personalities who were worshipping for tens of thousands of years. We hear about prachetas. They were meditating and praying to the Lord for 10,000 years underwater. We can't even keep ourselves underwater for 10 minutes. They were underwater for 10,000 years, and Lord appeared. We hear about Vishwamitra. He was, meditating for 60,000 years, and then Menika came and his whole effort was spoiled. So it's not about that perfection. The sincerity is what matters, what makes the difference here. So from this verse and the purport by Srila Prabhupada, what is being revealed? As soon as the Lord touched, caused Gajendra to have a spiritual transformation. His external self changed and his ignorance went away. When we hear about the Lord, Lord, he enters through the ears into our heart and purification happens. When we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is purification. We are churning our heart. When sometimes the land is very hard and you try to sow a seed, it won't sprout. Why? Because you have not prepared the land properly. You have not prepared the ground. You have to churn the ground, and so that you can properly create that soft area. Similarly, we have to churn our heart. And when we serve, the 9 processes, Navvidha Bhakti, Devi was referring to earlier, that also causes purification. So this is spiritual purification. And so Krishna is constantly creating opportunity for our return. He's more eager for us to return than we are eager to return home. Now, sometimes people say, okay, how does this purification really mean? Srila Prabhupada would give many examples, and many acharyas and devotees also share some similar examples. And one of the examples is that, yes, assume that you have a glass filled with black ink or blue ink, really concentrated. And now there is no room because this is showing the conditioned state of soul. But if the soul, if the living entity starts to engage in devotional service, simply through chanting, let's just take one of the processes, which actually chanting incorporates majority of the processes, the 9 Vidha Bhakti, when done attentively. So it's the mood in which, and the attentiveness is very important. Then other processes add on and amplifies this purification. So now if you start putting clean water in this glass filled with ink, what will happen? The ink will start coming out. And first that black color will still be for some time black, but then it's becoming lighter and lighter. It becomes gray, it becomes light gray. And finally, there will be a point that there won't be any color remaining. It will be completely transparent. So this is a process. Yet at the same time, Lord is more eager to take us back home. So when we take 1 step towards the Lord, he takes 10 steps. Yes, Acharya has revealed this. So similarly, when we are making sufficient effort, we only have to provide 10% of the purification, and Lord does the 90% on his own. When he sees our eagerness, our sincerity, sometimes people are too much about perfections, rules and regulations. Yes, they are important. Yet at the same time, they, without the love factor, without the devotion factor, they cause hardening of heart. And yes, our spiritual masters, again, they reveal to us time and again that we have to do things attentively, devotionally, lovingly. It is emotions and action. So that's what we should be looking at, right? So sometimes in life, we become comfortable in temporary situations, right? Small comforts, familiar patterns, they come, and then limited joys. Even when something higher is available, we have this tendency. And Srila Prabhupada shared in this regard the story of those elephants. One man sees this elephants, gigantic elephants, tied by a very small rope. It's like he asked the master, the caretaker of those elephants, they are not bound by any boundaries. They have this very thin, small, weak rope they're tied to. Can't they just go off him? Aren't you afraid? The caretaker smiled and said, no, they can't. So he said, how? Well, the caretaker says, when they were young, when they were small. At that time, we used the same rope to tie their leg and they tugged on it for days. It didn't break because they were not so strong. So they got conditioned that they cannot break the rope. So we use the same rope now, but because of their conditioning, they cannot break. And that is our state by dear devotees, that when we are conditioned by this material energy because of our desires to enjoy our senses, to gratify our senses, it becomes very difficult to break the cycle. What's happening? We are actually holding on to a tree and says, oh, my dear tree, please leave me, leave me. No, it is we who are holding on to it. Who's the enemy? We are the enemy in this case. Material energy is just a referee. We talked about this. She's just calling out, hey, you do this, there is a reaction to it. And we get upset that why am I getting reaction? Well, when the reaction is good, for pious actions, the reactions are to enjoy senses. We like it. Even if it's performed, unknowingly or mistakenly. But when it comes of sinful action, because of some circumstances, which we of course like to rationalize. Of course, at that time, those reactions, those sinful reactions are punishments, painful to the senses, and we don't like it. But in reality, they are the ones given to us for our purification, right? We also reminded of this condition state by King Indra. There are two very beautiful instances. One instance is when Lord Krishna was served bhoga and he was about to eat, but he was watching. There was a small insect crawling towards the plate and towards the bhoga offering that he was offered to honor. At that time, Lord Krishna, he looks at that and then he moves his head like this is so painful. This is so painful. He says, this soul, the one who's appearing as insect and approaching this, my bhoga offering, has been Indra 14 times, but he has failed to win over his senses. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. How can we win over the senses? When we serve the Lord Rishikesha, the master of the senses. By gratifying the senses, all we are doing is putting clarified butter in fire, which will only make it stronger. So we all understand this, but when it comes to practice, we don't practice it as it should be. And the second instance again, now that we talked about Indra, how could Indra be conditioned? Sometimes people think that. Now, what's the hope is sometimes people are making all this charities, sacrifices, austerities, and penances they're performing is mainly to rise to higher planetary systems so they can enjoy their senses nicely. And then they hear about Indra. How could this be? Well, Lord Brahma once became upset by the behavior of Indra. He was acting in an abominable manner, so Lord Brahma cursed him to become a hog. And after some time, Lord Brahma felt compassion towards Indra, like any father would. And he felt like, he's a king. Yes, I know his nature. Maybe it was something I could have just explained to him and corrected him instead of giving a punishment. So Lord Brahma came to Indra, who is in the form of a hog. What does Lord Brahma sees? That there's a big mud pool. There's all abominable stuff everywhere. And we all know what hog eats, right? And there's Indra is in the form of a male hog, and there's small piglets all around him, and there are female hogs around him. And Lord Brahma, he says, Indra, let's go back, let's go back to heaven. Indra being conditioned in that hog body, what is he thinking? His response is, no, I'm very comfortable here. I am with my wife and children, and this place is very pleasure-giving. My senses are really gratifying. Gratified at this spot. So Lord Brahma is shocked to see this power of material energy. That Indra, the king of heavenly planets, king of heaven, he is conditioned in this state. It is not that we don't have the capability, but we condition ourselves. So Lord Brahma was surprised to see the strength of material energy. That whatever we desire, material energy makes an arrangement for it. So that's why, my dear devotees, we have to be careful what we wish for. Else, we might get it. Hare Krishna, Kunti Mata. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
So
so
today we are covering Gajendra's pastime part 3. And here we are discussing as how when Gajendra called out, so his leg was caught by the crocodile, and he wasn't fighting for a few days or few minutes or a few weeks. He was fighting for years. And we see that when he is praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead at that time, Lord comes running and he doesn't wait. He's barefoot. Lord is running barefoot. He's not waiting to arrange his clothes. He's not waiting to prepare himself to be presentable. This is, when a child cries, father runs without any preparation, without any thought. The father just runs to save the child. So Gajendra in the jaw of death. Sometimes we look at it. And then acharyas, they make it really twisted. And sometimes we look at it from the perspective that, yes, living entities in the jaw of material gratification, conditioned state as well. So again, there is a twist to it. It's not always the danger. The greatest danger is the spiritual FOMO, my dear devotees. What is spiritual FOMO? Fear of missing out, right? What are we missing out? That Krishna is having such wonderful time with his cowherd boys. He's having such a wonderful Ras Leela with the gopis. He's having such loving pastimes with Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mai. And we are missing all of it out because we are in this conditional state thinking I am well and fine and my life is sweet, merry, and wonderful. That's the biggest illusion we are falling in. So, my dear devotees, we are missing out big time if we are not taken to devotion. So, sometimes we settle for less. Well, Krishna is inviting us to something far greater, far wonderful, far blissful. Sometimes we are like looking for sparks in the dark, while Lord is like the sun. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andhakara, Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikara. So wherever there is Krishna, material energy cannot act, which means our attraction towards material energy won't act because we will experience higher taste, like Gajendra experienced as soon as Lord touched him. First of all, everybody saw externally, all the demigods, they were, looking at it and they were observing it. Even King Huhu, who was in the crocodile's body, was praying to the Lord at that time. They saw that Gajendra immediately transformed into a four-arm form and that he was wearing yellow clothes. So that is external transformation, but the internal transformation was complete ignorance was gone. Of course, King Indradumna, in his previous life, poetry, the prayers he was reciting, Gajendra was reminded of all those prayers from his past life. And so he was reciting those prayers in that state. When he plucks up that, the lotus, and let me share this. Beautiful. So again, it's a nice way to show. Where Sage Agastya, when King Indra is meditating on the Supreme Lord, he is saying, we have come to his door and he does not have the courtesy to welcome us. This is Sage Agastya. So, Sage Agastya immediately curses him. Your arrogance shall not be unpunished. May you turn into an elephant. And so, Gajendra, in the clutches of crocodile, is picking up a lotus flower and praying to the Lord. And so, King Huhu is praying to the Lord, and Gajendra here has transformed into a four-arm form, holding conch, club, lotus, and Sudarshan. So again, he is his four-arm form. And that does not make him God. He is godly because he has been cleansed of all the impurities. So my dear devotees, I just wanted to bring this image to your focus. So similarly, there is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, again, the Shanagati prayers are so important. And Shanagati, what does that mean? Hare Krishna.
Surrender.
Wait, I think there is technical difficulty. Okay, yes.
Do you have the screen now?
Yes, I have the screen. Can you see me?
I think we
Hare
can
Krishna.
briefly mention for some of the participants who are not there in the previous sessions. So King Indra Yamuna is the past life of Gajendra,
Gajendra, yes.
where he got the curse and he has the elephant's body now. And crocodile, you can tell about.
King Huhu, again, he was again cursed because he was playing in the waters and he was pulling people's legs. Sometimes people do this kind of funny games just to attract, and please the women he was with. And he was cursed to become a crocodile. And that's exactly what he's doing. He was pulling the leg as a childish play. And now as a crocodile, he is holding on to the leg of Gajendra. And of course, we see Gajendra losing the ground. He's the king of the elephants. He's great personality, but at the same time, very powerful. But he is not in his element. Elephant is his natural place is land. Crocodile is an animal of the water. So again, this was foreign for Gajendra. And crocodile over a period of time was gaining strength, while Gajendra over a period of time was losing strength. And Gajendra realizing, what's the purpose of this conditioned life where I'm facing all such conditions? So he's not thinking of getting freed from the clutches of crocodile. Of course, that's the jaws of death to him right now. But he was thinking of his conditioned state. He wanted to attain his spiritual form. That he had, it just needs to be revealed. That has been revealed when Lord Hari touches him with his hand. And we talked about how Lord Hari came. He came running barefoot without any delay, so much that Garuda said, my dear Lord, you're not even waiting for me. So he had to catch up to the Lord. Lord is running and Garuda is coming up, and then Lord comes on top of Garuda. So again, to reach Gajendra and immediately deliver him, to liberate him from that conditioned state. My dear devotees, such a beautiful pastime. We compared it with Draupadi calling out to Govinda, Govinda, when she had to raise her hands and call out to Lord Krishna. And at that time, Lord Krishna came through the highway of her tears to give her the protection, right? Similarly, we see the Brajvasis, residents of Vrindavan. When Akrura took Krishna away, they could not function. They lost all joy and they felt life had no meaning. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also expresses this mood of Vrindavan Vasis in his 8 prayers, Shiksha Ashtakam. He talks about how, Lord, without you, this world is void. And even a moment feels like 12 years or more. And Uddhav, when he visited, after Lord Krishna requested him to visit Vrindavan to give them the message, when Uddhav he visited, he saw that Mother Yashoda, he was constantly crying and she was barely eating anything. He was saying how the gopis were in constant remembrance of Lord Krishna. He was shocked. He used to think that he is a great person and he has so much when it comes to knowledge. And Lord Krishna, he realized he stayed there for a few months in Vrindavan. Why? He was a student, a disciple of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. Why would he stay in Vrindavan? So that he could learn how to be a devotee. So that's the mood even Uddhava is taking. So in this way, we see how sweet pastimes are, with Vrindavans, because without Krishna, they didn't see any value. There is even a beautiful incident where Vrindavan Vasis, when they were shown Vaikuntha planet, so again in Padma Purana, it's described that Lord Krishna actually took them to Vaikuntha planet. And as Vrindavan's Vasis were thinking in Vrindavan, it may be getting dark. They said, Krishna, this is nice, like a lot of awe and reverence and opulent, but this is not Vraj. This is not home. Please take us back home. So Lord Krishna was shocked that they love me so much that they want, and of course, God, Lord, he calls Goloka as the highest. That's the highest, spiritual realm that exists. So he realized that Vrindavan Vasis, they were in that loving mood where they can have this loving exchange. Once Lord Krishna and the boys, they were playing, and the boys said, Krishna, it's your turn. Sometimes when we play, nobody wants to be the one doing most service or running around. So Lord Krishna says, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Little Kana saying to the Godhead boys, I don't want to do this. Sometimes when we play games, sometimes when people play cricket, nobody wants to do fielding. Sometimes when people are playing such games, there are two sides. And everyone wants to be the batsman in cricket or in baseball. Everyone wants to hit. Nobody wants to run in the field to catch the ball or to get the ball. So when it was Krishna's turn, he said, no, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I said, what are you talking about, Krishna? Krishna says, close your eyes. They closed their eyes. Immediately they saw themselves in Vaikuntha planet. And they're seeing all these sages and great personalities and many in form. They're praying to the Lordship. And when they say, oh, Kanha, because they could see that, Kanha is like little older, looks like a young man. He is with a goddess of fortune on a great throne, and they're calling her Kana, Krishna, come here. And immediately they were chastised. They were told by the residents of Vaikuntha, hey, you are supposed to be singing Purusha Sukta prayers. Don't call him like that. He's our Lord. And they were so surprised. And then immediately closed their eyes. They said, like, this is not fun. And so when they opened their eyes again, Krishna says, see, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're like, okay, this time we'll let you pass, but next time you have to do the service. You have to do the other part. And Krishna says, okay. But because he's seeing the sweetness of this loving exchange. So sometimes we as souls, what do we feel? I'm okay here. Just like Indra, even though he was turned into a hog, he was telling Lord Brahma, no, I'm fine as a hog in this, mud pool where all abominable things are there. While others feel, like Vrindavan Vas says, that without Krishna, nothing is meaningful. My dear devotees, understand the two contrasts. One is in conditioned state, one is spiritual state. And who are we? We are spiritual beings having material experience. When we are spiritual beings having material experience, why have material experience? We should have spiritual experience. And that comes simply through simple process of purification and surrender. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Krishna wants us back, but our desire determines how quickly we respond, right? We have to call out to that Lord with that mood. You can think of a father being called by two sons. One of them is calling out, "My dear father, I have big stomach ache," and he's crying out. Another one is saying, "My dear father, you look very nice today." Who will father run to? Well, of course, you will say, the one who's in trouble, right? Not the one who is very comfortable. That's the general attitude. That's the response of love. And that's something uh, makes everything very different. So today, my dear devotees, I want to quickly cover it through the acronym HARI, right? H is for helpless surrender, right? Calling out to the Lord beyond ego, beyond control, completely in the mood of surrender. And of course, in a prayerful mood. And we talk about, means Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about the six limbs of Sharanagati. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya vajanam, rakshishyati te vishwaso, gopatitve varnam tata, atmanikshep karpane, shadvidha Sharanagati. Anukulyasya sankalpa. Whatever is favorable for devotional service, we must perform those. Pratikulyasya vajanam, whatever is unfavorable to devotional service, to our purification, we should avoid those. We should not do those. Pratikulyasya sankalpa, anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya vajanam, rakshishyati iti vishwaso, having firm faith, vishwas, right, firm faith, that Lord will provide protection, just like He provided protection to Gajendra. Gopatitya, that He's our maintainer. He is the one who I maintain. Sometimes people, they feel very comfortable. My dear Lord, I am really comfortable. I want to be in a permanent position in such and such place and have such a nice arrangement. And Lord Krishna, as the deity, when people are praying to Him in the temple, He is smiling. It's like, you're looking for permanence here. By the way, the body you have is been rented by me to me. So again, through me. So He is the one who has rented us this body. Even the body doesn't belong to us. We have only received it for a specific time. And if we maintain it well in His service, then there is purpose. If we maintain it well but don't perform any service, how good is that? Not much use of such a body. So again, that's all about the level of surrender. H is for helpless surrender, like we saw in the case of Gajendra. We saw in the case of Draupadi. This is helpless surrender. And what does it lead to? A is for association with the Lord, right? So connecting through hearing, chanting, and service. So that's very important, my dear devotees. And what does this lead to? This leads to reciprocation. When we take one step towards Krishna, He takes 10 steps towards us. Our steps are puny. Lord Krishna's steps, well, in one step, He covered the whole earth. The second step went to the end of the universe. So you can understand that it's very easy for the Lord to immediately approach us. And this R is reciprocation. So the Lord responds faster and deeper than we can even expect. My dear devotees, and I in Hari is referring to ignorance removed, right? The Lord destroys ignorance, it restores our spiritual identity. He doesn't give us an identity, He has already given us an identity at the very beginning. He's just revealing it. So surrender is shown as how He runs. Now, but we have to stay connected, right? He comes, but are we connected with Him? When we call out to chanting of the leading, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are chanting it when the class is going on, and then we go back to our regular activities and forget about it. That's why acharyas have said that we have to do minimum 16 rounds attentively, with focus, with devotion, asking for Lord's mercy, in repentance that we have been engaged in this material world, we have fallen into this andhakupam, the dark well, and call out to the Lord to please take us out so that we can serve Him. The mood is of service. This prayer is, my dear Mother Radha, my dear Father Krishna, please engage me in your devotional service. When service comes, we say, oh, engage him is in service, her in service. No, that is us calling out. We have to engage in service. We have to purify ourselves. Sometimes people have this tendency, I'll purify all others. What about ourselves? We have to look at it from the right perspective. And we have to serve to transform. That is very important, right? So even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talks about this. Satadam kirtiyanto mam yatantasya dranavata namasyantasya mam bhakta nityayukta upasate. So always engaging in service, and always staying connected. That connection is important. That association is extremely purifying, my dear devotees. And when we call out to the Lord's prayers, we should be fully attentive so that we get the full benefit. Now, we are not looking for profit and loss. We are looking for purification. It's a matter of heart, not a mathematical formula. So we have to look from that perspective. In connection with Gajendra's journey, he struggled, he was in difficulty. He surrendered, that led to transformation, right? And the touch of the Lord led to liberation. My dear devotees, this is something very important that we have to look from the perspective that helpless surrender is not when we say, I need Krishna. It is when the heart cries, I have no other but you, my dear Krishna. Right? Like Draupadi was crying out, Govinda, Govinda. As long as we feel, yeah, I can manage a little more. Let me try one more time, right? Krishna, he's waiting. He's patiently, lovingly waiting, right? But the moment the soul truly breaks, not externally, but internally, then Krishna does not wait. He runs. He runs like a father to save his son. My dear devotees, this is what I wanted to cover in today's session, Gems from Srimadbhagavatam, where we see in Gajendra's moksha pastimes the liberation of the king of elephants, Gajendra, as how his cry was not to just get out of the clutches of the crocodile. Yes, the clutches of the crocodile are the clutches of death personified in this case. Yet at the same time, he is looking to get out the clutches of this material energy conditioning. And this conditioning is of our desires. We have to purify our desires and not call out to material energy is bad. She's just a referee. She's just saying, if you do this, you get this. So if you do pious activities, you get good reactions, which you can use for sense gratification, or you have the opportunity to use them in Krishna service. We are the ones making choices. And we are calling her out that she is bad. No, she is not bad. She is just a referee. And when we engage in Lord's service, then the purification happens. And what gets revealed is who we are. Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tathashta Shakti Veda Veda Prakash. That we are the marginal potency of the Lord. And we can be in sync with Krishna and be blissful, or out of sync from Krishna and we'll be fully miserable, completely miserable. The choice is ours. And what is our nature? Because our dharma is, we are eternal servant. Krishnera Nityadas. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Devi, would you like to add anything?
Hare Krishna. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We all revisited this beautiful pastime of Gajendra, how he got into a mess and received the mercy of the Lord. So, from mess to mercy.
Yes.
And the acronym HARI, which was covered in the talk today, it really helps us to remember, we read so many pastimes. So, Prabhuji, if that's okay, in 2 minutes quickly, I want to share with everyone, if you can share Canto 8, Chapter 4, last 3 verses. There is Fal Shruti, meaning benediction.
Yes.
Those who hear and recite, this
Yes.
pastime, what is the blessing for them? So this is text 17 to 24 in one verse itself, and there is
Yes.
only translation. If you can share that.
Yes, I will.
So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, freed from all sinful reactions are those who rise from bed at end of night, early in the morning, and fully concentrate their minds. So Canto 8, Chapter 4, this one.
Yes.
Yeah. concentrate their minds, you can highlight so they know where I am, with great attention upon my form, your form, this lake, this fountain, the caves, the gardens, the cane plants, the bamboo plants, the celestial trees, the residential quarters of me, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, 3 peaks of Trikuta mountain made of gold, silver and iron, my very pleasing abode of the ocean of milk, the white island, Shwetadweep, which is always brilliant with spiritual rays, my mark of Srivatsa, the Kaustuba gem, my Vajanti garland, my club, Kaumadaki, my Sudarshan disc, and Panchajanya conch shell. So these are the words of the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
My bearer, Garud, the king of the birds, my bed, Sheshnag, my expansion energy, the goddess of fortune, Lord Brahma, Lord Narad Muni, Lord Shiva, Prahlad, my incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha, my unlimited, all auspicious activities which yield piety to he who hears them, the sun, the moon, fire, mantra, Omkar, the absolute truth, the total material energy, the cows and the brahmanas, devotional service, the wife of Soma and Kashyap, the wives of Soma and Kashyap, who are the daughters of King Daksh, the river Ganges, Saraswati, Nanda, Yamuna, the elephant of Airavat, Dhruv Maharaj, 7 rishis, and the pious human beings. So one who hears about all these, the personalities and the paraphernalia, everything, their sinful reactions are all vanquished. And Prabhuji, can you just scroll down to the next 2 lines, next 2 words? My dear devotee, unto those who rise from bed at the end of night and offer me the prayers offered by you, I give an eternal residence in the spiritual world at the end of their lives. And then Sri Shukdev Goswami says, after giving this instruction, the Lord, who is known as Hrishikesha, buggled with his Panchajanya conch shell, in this way pleasing all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma. Then he mounted the back of his carrier Garuda. This is so beautiful. The Lord appears to give some relief to his dear devotee, whether it's Prahlad, whether it's Dhruva, yes, whether it's Gajendra. This is such a great inspiration for all of us.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Kantha Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Devi, would you like to add something?
No, we are.
Okay.
And so we are really grateful to all of you for participating and joining us for over a year, as and when, life presents some situations, some of you are not able to, but still you have been pretty consistent. So we are very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Om
Hare
Tat.
Krishna.
Hare